Hello and welcome to CU Sports Mag. I'm David LaRose, sitting alongside Rose Heapy. And Rose, it was not a pretty sight for Buff fans this past weekend, and it was homecoming, right?
Yeah, I mean, you'd think homecoming would give the fans the extra edge, and maybe the Buffs would play a little bit better, but if we roll those highlights, we'll see that was definitely not the story this weekend. So if we take a look at those highlights, Oregon definitely made an impact early on in the game, and they came up into Folsom Field. They were ready to play. And as it's seen this opening drive, Ducks quarterback Brian Bennett takes matters in own hands here and rushes for 43 yards, just flying past the defense. The flags, they'd fly on CU's Kyle Washington for personal foul, which would add 12 extra yards to the play. Bennett, as we can see here, he's pretty excited about that big play. Bennett now with the handoff to Kenyon Barner up the middle. He punches it into the end zone, getting the Ducks on the board. The Duck fans, they're pretty excited about that. Throwing at the big O for the Oregon offense. Oregon 3rd and 11. Bennett with a screen pass to Barner, who takes it for 31 yards to the Colorado 28. Colorado sidelines. Ducks threatening on the CU's 14. Bennett to DeAnthony Thomas, who would tumble into the end zone. Oregon now up 14-0. They're waving their flag loud and proud right there on Folsom Field. Colorado looking to answer. Hansen with a fake to Stewart, and he's taken out by Josh Cadu for a loss of 5 yards. Backup quarterback Nick Hirschman looks on from the sidelines.
The Ducks were running the option read all game, and the Buffs could do nothing to stop it as Kenyon Barner takes this give 84 yards to pay dirt, increasing the score to 21-0. Oregon would convert the extra point to go up by 22, but points were not at a premium for Bennett and the Ducks as he connects with his tight end David Paulson here for a 31-yard pitch and catch as Oregon scored on its first 4 possessions to go up 29-0, and that means a lot of push-ups for the strongest mascot in college football, the Oregon Duck. Scary moment here and late in the second quarter as Tyler Hansen comes out to play action, scrambles out of the pocket, sliding down, and 2 Duck players sandwich him, knocking Hansen out of the game with concussion. The lone bright spot of the game for CU was the dual-footed punting of Dara O'Neal, this one resulting in the only points of the day for the Buffs as Cliff Harris gets taken down in his own end zone for a safety, preventing the Buffs from being shut out at home for the first time since 1986. Chip did all he could to be positive and support the team, but it was tough this day as CU goes on to lose 45-2. It didn't matter who was taking the snaps for Oregon as Brian Bennett threw for 156 yards and 2 scores. Kenyon Barner filled in nicely for LaMichael James with 115 yards and 2 touchdowns. And here's what head coach John Embry had to say after the game.
Obviously, not the performance we wanted. We sustained some more injuries. It really hamstrung us. Had nothing to do with the final score. But my hat's off to Chip. They're a very good program, very good team. I believe the guys that are playing that are all in. We're playing a lot of younger guys too. So for them, it's their first time going through and experiencing it, some of these things. So I'm not concerned with that, right now. That's just how far we have to go. I don't think when you look out there, I don't think you see a lack of effort. I don't think you see a lack of hustle and guys trying. We're just not at that level yet.
All right, so there's a lot of excitement definitely with the Pac-12 this week.
Right, the Buffs and the Ducks were not the only 2 Pac-12 teams playing, and Rose, you're going to see those highlights.
Absolutely. Let's take a look see what was going on around in the other places in the Pac-12. We roll those highlights. Nick Foles connects to Jerron Kreiner for 25 yards. The Wildcats scored in their first 6 possessions, and they'd beat UCLA 48-12. Moving to Cal versus Utah, the Bears get on the board in the second quarter with a rushing TD from Izzy Asafeli. Cal wins 34-10. Now to Oregon State against the Washington State Huskies. The Beavers' Brandon Cooks lobs it to Sean Mannion, who reels it in for the touchdown. The refs say touchdown, and the fans are excited, and the team's excited. But this play is going to go under review. On a second look, we can see that Mannion is bobbling the ball here against his body, and the refs, they wouldn't have enough evidence to overrule it, and the Bears, they would end up winning the game 44-21.
Number 8, Stanford handled Washington, who made a brief appearance in the top 25 after their blowout win over Colorado, as Stanford ran all over the Huskies, racking up 446 yards rushing. USC went on the road to continue their storied rivalry with Notre Dame in South Bend. Barkley threw for 224 yards and 3 touchdowns, and his go-to receiver, like it has been all season, was Robert Woods, who caught 12 balls for 119 yards and a pair of scores, including this beautiful catch, putting the game away midway through the fourth as USC won 31-17. And we'll look at the rest of the scores around the Pac-12.
All right, so going along with the football theme, I know you're chomping at the bit for this week's trivia question. What former Arizona Cardinal and Arizona State football star turned Army Ranger has had his jersey retired posthumously for both teams? We will have the answer later in the show.
As you saw in that video, Tyler Hansen had to leave early because he was diagnosed with a concussion. He is still questionable for this Saturday's game at Arizona State. He has not been cleared to play yet and practiced in shorts and no pads on Wednesday. Coach John Embry is expecting him to play for the Arizona State game. If not, redshirt freshman Tyler Hirschman says he feels very confident if he has to take Hansen's place.
Coming up after the break, we'll recap the festivities over the weekend, and that includes homecoming parade on Pearl Street.
And Andy McDonald breaks down a few plays and shows how Oregon worked their way past the Buffs on Saturday.
Yeah, how dope was that party last night, man? Yeah, no. Wait, I can't really. You're breaking up. Lost service. Yeah, no, and then he shoved me, and I was like, that's not cool. And so I just rocked him, and it was tight.
It was a total dime piece, man. Took her back to my place, had a few drinks, you know what I mean.
And after all of that, she told me she had a kid, and I'm not trying to be any part of that right there. You know what I mean? It was crazy.
Let's sit down for a second, okay, sweetie? Hey, Kayla, there's Mary from your class.
Hi, Mary. Hi, Kayla. Come and play.
Oh, sweetie. Why don't you go play with those kids over there?
Why?
Imagine the power of one voice. Find yours at freedomcenter.org.
CU's loss against Oregon last week was no doubt an ugly one, Rose.
Yeah, Sports Mag's Alexis Perry and Andrew McDonald, they'll break down the game for us and on this week's Double Team.
Hi, and welcome to Double Team. I'm Andy McDonald, sitting alongside Alexis Perry, and the Buffs football game this weekend wasn't as exciting as we were hoping for. The number 9 Oregon Ducks coming into Folsom, and they really smacked the Buffs pretty handily. And let's talk a little statistics, because those Ducks really love those statistics.
Yeah, you know, this Oregon Ducks team they're such a strong team. It doesn't matter, who's playing. In this case, they didn't even have, their starting quarterback or LaMichael James, who holds their best rushing stats for their team and is also one of the best rushers in the nation. So, going into this game, the Buffs were going to struggle, and they knew that they were going to struggle, but I don't think anybody knew that, that it was going to be this bad.
I was really impressed by Oregon. I've said that several times, and I've talked to some people on the inside, and they couldn't tell me about Chip Kelly and how well coached this team was, how disciplined this team was, and that really impressed me. Looking at them on television, you don't really get the fact that they're that disciplined, and you talked about it a little bit. Brian Bennett, quarterback, coming in. He's a freshman coming in for Darren Thomas. Also, Kenyon Barner had a career high of 171 yards against Arizona State last week, and he stepped in for LaMichael James, who was third in the Heisman a year ago. So they're just filling spots, and Oregon really impressed me. The Buffaloes don't have it. but they're kind of depleted on offense and defense. And we saw some key injuries, especially early in that first half.
Yeah, we saw Hansen in the end of the first half, get that concussion. Dede Goodson also received a concussion, as well as Anthony Perkins, who sprained his ankle. So, these injuries that we faced during this game, not even the ones that happened, before, because the team was able to prepare for that a little bit more, moving freshmen around, pulling kids up, moving people around. But for these injuries that happened during the game, all of a sudden Nick Hirschman has to come in for Hansen. And, he didn't play horribly for that game. He went 8 for 18 for 71 yards in that second half when Hansen was officially not coming back out. And, he is a good player, and he will more than likely be starting this weekend against Arizona State.
That's right, Nick Hirschman, and we talk about him a little bit. And John Embry keeps going back to the seniors. Seniors have to continue to step up because they don't really have that many more games. But I do like Nick Hirschman stepping in there. Next year, Connor Wood, the freshman from Texas, is going to be coming in. And that competitive battle with Rip Scherher, who's a great quarterback coach, that's going to be fun to see. Buffaloes are not doing so well this year, but I look forward to the future. The far future, and let's just jump back to the near future. Arizona State this next week, they're leading the Pac-12 South. The Buffs have yet to play a Pac-12 South opponent, and they're on top. What better way to go on the road, maybe knock off that road losing streak and take one from the Sun Devils?
Well, that number 21 is something that these two teams have in common. Arizona State being ranked number 21 in the country, and the Buffs going into this game with 21 true road losses. So I know the Buffs are really hoping to break that streak at some point this season, but against this team, with Brock Osweiler and Cameron Marshall, these are all really strong players that Arizona State has, and that this depleted team is going to have a tough time facing this weekend.
That's true. They go on the road. It's always tough. Brock Osweiler is he's a great quarterback. He could be a basketball player. He's 6'9". He can see over the lineman and just pick off receiver. He's doing great for them, and he's 15 touchdowns, as we talked about before the show a little bit. And Brock Osweiler is good, but John Embry continues to go back to what he said several times before. The Buffs have to play their game, and this is just a stretch for the Buffaloes, where it's Stanford, Washington, and then Oregon, and then Arizona State. 4 of the most competitive teams in the Pac-12, and the Buffaloes are going to have to just try to find their rhythm here on the Buffaloes and maybe take a win at Sun Devil Stadium. So, but that's all the time we have, actually. So for Alexis Perry, I'm Andy McDonald, and we're going to send it back to the desk.
Thanks, guys. Last weekend was an especially busy one in Boulder as CU welcomed back its family of alumni for homecoming weekend. The weekend's major event was the homecoming parade in conjunction with the Pearl Street Stampede on Friday night. This was the first year the homecoming parade took place on Pearl, and it was themed CU through the decades. Having the parade on Pearl Street meant no groups could no longer create material floats and had to express their creativity on foot. Homecoming weekend included the CU Oregon football contest as well as a 90s throwback concert featuring each 6 and 9 days.
CU's first Pac-12 conference win came from not volleyball, not football, but the Buffs soccer team. Colorado notched a 1-0 win over the California Bears in Berkeley last week. Sophomore Haley Hughes broke the silence with a goal in the 62nd minute. CU goalkeeper Kayla Miller had 6 saves to secure the shutout. The Buffs look to improve their record against Stanford later that weekend. The Colorado women's soccer team traveled to Palo Alto only to be defeated. CU fell to the number one team in the country, Stanford, 4-1. Katie Russell scored Colorado's only goal on a penalty kick. Backup goalie Kayla Miller made 6 saves on Stanford's 31 shots on goal. Stanford's Lindsay Taylor scored 2 goals out of the 4 Cardinal goals, and CU defender Amy Barczyk played only 32 minutes before leaving the game due to a head injury. The Buffs play their final 2 home games this weekend against UCLA and USC.
The Ducks dismantled the Buffs on Saturday. They scored 29 points in the first quarter alone, and it was not the scoreboard that was the most impressive. As Andy McDonald shows us, the Ducks are one of the best coached teams in the country, and it's evident on the tapes.
Hi guys, I'm Andy McDonald. The Ducks really dissected the Buffs this weekend, and what I was most impressed with was Chip Kelly kind of slowing it down. They're known for being a fast team, but people don't know they're also deceptive. Same formation, different play, as I'll show you here on this play. So early in the first quarter, here we have Brian Bennett and Trey Carson in the backfield, 6-on-6, meaning hat on a hat. Safeties have to step up and control these two. Oregon does a great job of deception. They either can go left with the veer or they can put players out in space. And this time they go with the space. And Carson moves out, and here comes Jonathan Hawkins. Has to respect Carson, who's going out. As you can see here, the linemen are stepping up and they're going downfield to keep it in the play, and they're dead. Let's rewind it. There we go. And the play. And the linemen find themselves upfield. Buffalo's overcommit, deceiving the Buffaloes slightly. Now when Brian Bennett throws it to Anthony Thomas, he has options. Linemen downfield, picking up those safeties that were unaccounted for. He either can follow the blockers or go upfield, find a seam, and that's just what he does. He splits the defense with that speed, and he scores a touchdown. Another play we'll show you right here. Same formation. Instead, they're going to go the veer. Brian Bennett, a freshman, has an option read. He's reading the defensive end here in Will Prichek. This time, Prichek finds himself in no man's land again, and Barner can find a seam. Great kick-out block by the wide receiver and the tackle here, one-on-one in space, and Barner's not going to lose that speed, and he goes for over 50-plus on the touchdown here. After the game, Embry said there was no blueprint for the Oregon Ducks, but he has to play within themselves. The Buffaloes have to play within themselves, and that's what they're going to have to do this weekend against Arizona State. So hopefully they can do that, and we'll send it back to the desk.
Thanks, Andy. Don't go anywhere. Up next, we'll get to know another Pac-12 opponent.
And the first snow of the season means it's about time to head inside for Buffs basketball with their media day.
That's right. Do I look like a commingled contender to you? All I want is newspaper.
Why don't you bring that bottle over here? I won't be spitting it back at you.
Alright, boy, why don't you bring that bottle over here to commingle so these boys stop bickering and ruin my night.
SportsMag continues its 11-part series previewing the teams in the Pac-12. SportsMag's Ron Knabenbauer gives the inside look on Arizona State.
After playing Stanford, Washington, and Oregon, the Colorado Buffaloes' brutal football schedule continues on Saturday in the desert against the Arizona State Sun Devils. The Buffs are currently last in South Division, but CU won't just be looking up this weekend to ASU in the standings, but also to their quarterback, Brock Osweiler, who stands at 6 feet 8 inches, which makes him one of the tallest college quarterbacks ever.
You know, he's a real leader. He's a real competitor, and as you know, he's pretty big.
Tall football players are usually not great runners, but not Osweiler. And CU coach John Embry knows his team will have their hands full with the ASU QB.
That's a testament to his athleticism. You know, he's a guy who probably should be playing basketball. I wish he was.
With Colorado quarterback Tyler Hansen questionable to play in the game after suffering a concussion last week, it will even be harder for backup Nick Hirschman and the Buffs to move the ball against an ASU defense which ranks third in the conference in defending the pass.
We've got a lot of speed. I mean, that's what we make a living on defensively, and our linebackers are very fast.
The Sun Devils are currently tied for the lead in the division with USC, but with the Trojans in the second year of a 2-year postseason ban, ASU will likely be the team from the South in the Pac-12 championship game in December, which was one of ASU's goals prior to the start of the season.
The first goal is to win the division, then you win the division and you play in a playoff game and go to the Rose Bowl. I think all of us have the same goals.
This will be the third ever matchup between Colorado and Arizona State, with ASU winning both the previous meetings. Buffs will hope that the third time will be the charm this weekend. Ron Knoppenbauer, CU Sports Mag.
Thanks, Ron. People are planning their costumes for this Halloween weekend, but have you ever wondered which CU player you dress up as? Sports Mag's Nicole Cheddar hit campus for a Halloween edition of Man on the Street. Difficulties.
Sorry about the technical difficulties, but moving on to CU volleyball. The CU volleyball team continued to struggle in their last game against the third-ranked University of Southern California Trojans. USC displayed their dominance early and cruised to an easy win in 3 sets. The Trojans' win marked the team's 12th win in a row. CU junior Kara Schrader led the Buffs with 10 kills. CU now prepares to play Oregon and in Oregon State on the road this weekend. Now, looking back at the game before that, the Buffs went out to Los Angeles to play UCLA Bruins. They started slow against UCLA and lost the first 2 sets. The Buffs then won their first set since joining the Pac-12, 25-19. Although the Buffs started the 4th set strong by taking a 12-9 lead, the Bruins then won 5 straight points and never looked back. UCLA was too much for CU to handle and ended up winning the last set 25-23. Kara Schrader scored a match-high 16 kills on 61 attacks.
So we would have Media Day, but we're having a little bit more technical difficulties. Me and Andrew Tomasini went to Media Day, and we got a few clips from head coach Tad Boyle. Tad Boyle did say that he is excited for the new season and that he feels in a much better place this year than he did last year.
Feel a lot more comfortable today than I did a year ago, sitting in this chair, having 1 year under our belt as a coaching staff and having some now veterans that are coming back into our program who kind of know what to expect. Makes you feel a little bit more comfortable as a coach. Last year there were so many unknowns, and still this year there's a lot of unknowns, but I feel very comfortable with the guys who have been in the program. Our coaching staff feels like we have our feet on the ground now, and I like our team.
With our group of returners that we have back and our sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and the playing experience that they've been able to obtain over the past year, and then adding to that our group of freshmen, we're excited for the new season, and I think that our freshmen are on the fast track in terms of learning our system offensively, defensively, in terms of learning what it takes to be successful at the Division I level. We're also excited to begin a new conference, to begin the Pac-12.
The women's golf team should be satisfied with a 14th place finish at the SEC Pac-12 Challenge in Tennessee. The Buffs, who are ranked 24th in the nation, finished ahead of number 4 LSU and the 20th ranked Cal Bears. Senior Emily Talley led the way for Colorado, shooting 6 over par for the tournament. CU transfers Jessica Wallace and Alex Stewart were not far behind, both finishing with 4 strokes behind Talley. Number 6, Alabama outdueled the top-ranked UCLA Bruins to win the tournament at only 1 over par. The Buffs have finished their fall season of play, but come home to break ground on their new practice facility.
It may have already started to snow here in Colorado, but come next year, the Buffs golf team will be able to practice when the white stuff is on the ground. The men's and women's golf team broke ground on Monday for their new practice facility at Colorado National Golf Club. The George Bodecker Junior Golf Practice Facility will encompass nearly 6,000 square feet with some state-of-the-art equipment. It will feature a short game room, 5 separate hitting bays, and an equipment room with a video equipment room. The facility is planned to be built in about 17 weeks and is just another of the many updates to facilities to Colorado athletes.
We're not done just yet. We'll reveal the answer to the trivia question after a short break.
And there is a special event this weekend. Where will you be able to meet some of the new faces for the CU Buffs?
Americans drink 400 million cups of coffee every day. They don't realize with every caffeine-filled cup, they're drinking their way to many harmful side effects. Caffeine interferes with the body's hormones, leading to... And don't forget jitteriness, upset stomachs, and disrupted sleep. With caffeine, going to the bathroom is the least of your problems.
Honey, the credit fairy doesn't exist.
What?
It's make-believe. Nobody left anything under your pillow.
If there's no credit fairy, then we'll make our credit score go up.
We will, by doing things like paying our bills on time.
There's no magic to improving your credit, but there's help, and it's free. Go to creditfairy.org.
What?
Hey, I'm Jeremy Bloom, former CU student, football player, Olympian, and world champion. But most importantly, I'm a forever Buff, which means I'm part of 240,000 students and alums created by the CU Boulder Alumni Association. The University of Colorado will always be something I'm very proud to be a part of. The years that I spent going to school and playing football provided me with some of the best memories of my life. So come join me in creating lifelong CU relationships and explore the Forever Buff program.
Don't be mean. Clean your machine.
Before the Buffs hit the hardwood, you can get a chance to meet them this Sunday, October 20th at 4 p.m. Kids 13 and under will be able to meet the players on the Colorado men's and women's basketball team. The kids will go around to the Coors Event Center and test their skills, and the first 750 to do so will receive a free t-shirt. Following the event at 5 p.m., you'll be able to see the Buffs in action as they participate in a three-point contest, a dunk contest, and then finally a scrimmage. The event is free of charge and is once again this Sunday, the 20th at 4 p.m.
This leads us to this week's poll question. Of the remaining football games, which do you think CU has the best chance of winning? At Arizona State this weekend, home against University of Southern California next week, at UCLA, home against Arizona, or at Utah. Visit CUSportsMag.com to cast your vote.
And have you come up to the answer to this week's trivia question? Here it is one more time. What former Arizona Cardinal and Arizona State football star turned Army Ranger has had his jersey retired posthumously for both teams? And the answer is Pat Tillman in 2004 for ASU and in 2006 for the Arizona Cardinals. Tillman was killed in Afghanistan in April 2004.
Well, that about wraps up the show. Rose, what are you looking for the Buffs this weekend?
You know, is it too much to ask for a win? I mean, I know it's a road game, so I know we have that terrible streak going, but can we try and get a win on the road?
Maybe. We will see this weekend. But thank you for watching CU Sports Mag, and catch us next week.